Hey everybody, welcome back to the Top 10 Weakest series, as we're at our penultimate video. We're almost done with this series, and next time we'll be talking on the dragon types. It'll be wild to actually see this one come to a close. It's been an interesting run to say the least, but we're not done yet, so let's not act like we are. Last time we did the poison types, and you guys had a lot to say about that one, and I'm sure this list will be no different. The fairy typing is the newest one we have, and also a rather small one, so a few of the Pokemon on this list are probably some of the best we've talked about in this series. It's hard to make absolutely everything awful on a list like this, but I think the right Pokemon were selected. Let's get into things right now. We kick things off today with one of the newest fairy types to be introduced to the world of Pokemon, Alcremie. Unfortunately, for this cream cake thing, its interesting Gigantamax form couldn't keep it from being featured as one of the worst fairy type Pokemon. I had some other Pokemon on my mind that might have ended up here, like Comfey and Klefki, but the support they offer in battle was just too good, and Alcremie just sort of ended up as the odd man out in a way. Its Sweet Veil ability is very solid in doubles, preventing your ally Pokemon from falling asleep. And if not using that, then Aromatise in doubles is pretty solid too. Its stats showcase massive special power and bulk, but its speed is just not up to snuff, and really its physical bulk can hold it back immensely. However, I have yet to bring up the best usage for Alcremie, Decorate. In doubles action, it'll allow you to absolutely buff the hell out of whatever Pokemon you use it on, causing a 2-stage increase to the attack and special stats. It may not be useful in singles to have, but you can essentially turn anything in doubles into an absolute offensive powerhouse thanks to Alcremie. Aside from that though, you can use some attacking moves like Dazzling Gleam and Energy Ball and set up with Calm Mind if you so desire. Alcremie is an absolute staple on some doubles teams, and is definitely a double-centric Pokemon. And that is enough to keep it right here at number 10 today. Next up here on the list, we have Gramble, one of a small group of physical attacking fairy types, and arguably one of the worst. It's not anything too super special. That much I think we all know. It carries Intimidate for an ability, which is its most redeemable factor, as crippling attackers on the other side of the battlefield is great. Its attack stat is really good at base 120, but that speed, man, it's just no good. When you see base 45 on a Pokemon's speed, trusting it to be a good attacker just doesn't come off as a good idea. It's really not even great defensively, which I think ruins its ability to just serve as a bulky Pokemon. I mean, it's got Heal Bell in its pool, which is really nice to have. Just that on its own, I think would give Gramble some sort of a spot on some low-tier teams. And it can use Thunder Wave as well to cause a little paralysis. Naturally paralyzing the opponent will help Gramble start to outspeed. And that is where it can flourish, using moves like Play Rough and Earthquake to cause a major disturbance for the opposing Pokemon in battle. I'll leave it here with this entry. Gramble is definitely the best physical attacker on the list today, but even then, it still found its way onto this list. So coming up next, we've got one of the first fairy types introduced in X and Y, Aromatise. I can give you a little spoiler alert that its partner Slurpuff avoided being on this list altogether. Why is that? Well, there are a lot of viable things Slurpuff can do, highlighted by either using sticky webs or becoming an all-out attacker with Belly Drum. Aromatise, on the other hand, is more of a bulky Pokemon on the special end, using its ability Aromaveil to keep itself from being taunted, so it can act as a utility Pokemon. It can pop off Heal Bell to remove status elements on your Pokemon, and it's very capable of causing status elements of its own using Toxic. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Wish as well being a decent way to heal. It's not all utility though, as Aromatise can turn a Moonblast for some big stab damage. Its base 99 special attack is pretty decent for this thing to work, so that's a lot of good Aromatise is able to do. Why is it here then? Well, the main reason for it making the list is that while it's specially bulky, its horrible base 29 speed and poor physical bulk leave it susceptible to just about any physical attack. There are plenty of powerful steel and poison moves floating around that can absolutely punish Aromatise in doubles and singles, and keep it from doing what it's best at. Also, while 99's special attack is decent, it isn't perfect. And there's like no coverage in its move pool aside from Moonblast. Like there's Thunderbolt and Flash Cannon among others, but nothing really for Steel and Poison types. It's a shame, but at the end of the day, even slight shortcomings are enough to get you put on this list when you're part of such a dominant typing. It is what it is. Sorry, Aromatise. So we've got one more Sword and Shield Pokemon to talk about today, and it's going to be the all-new Galarian form of Rapidash. This thing really should be good, but it clearly doesn't do a good job at succeeding if it's finding itself in this video today. It's got nice speed and a nice attack stat that can be worked with, as you can see on screen. Its attack stat can actually get even better as it has access to Swords Dance. And being it'll probably outspeed a lot of Pokemon, it shouldn't struggle to use that attack stat after it's been boosted. However, here's the problem. Rapidash's bulk is total trash. You won't get the setup, and then turn out with moves like Play Rough, High Horsepower, and Psycho Cut if you're unable to survive the first turn that you set up. It's almost impossible to actually position Rapidash for the major success it has the potential to achieve. However, that said, it isn't bad to try and figure out the best way to use Rapidash, and that's why it only ended up at number 7 today. Consider this probably the cutoff point though. The next 6 Pokemon are really pretty bad. So here we have our first Pokemon from a previous list. Just falling outside the top 5, it's Wigglytuff. You guys all know I love the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, so I definitely have a soft spot for Wigglytuff. Though that soft spot isn't enough for me to act like it's a great Pokemon in competitive battles. It's got an insane base 140 HP stat that would normally speak to being a bulky Pokemon, but unfortunately, that is not the case. Its defense is base 45 and special defense is 50, meaning more often than not, that HP is literally all for show, as it means you'll just need to wait an extra few seconds as the bar drops when it's hit with a Gunk Shot or Iron Head. Its speed is an atrocious base 45, and offensively, its base 75 special attack isn't up to snuff. Cute Charm and Frisk aren't going to help with anything, and while competitive might be able to come through in the clutch, it isn't fast or bulky enough to take advantage of that boost, as more than likely, it's getting one shot or receiving only a single turn with these boosts if it lives a hit. It's honestly a shame, as Wigglytuff has a pretty massive move pool of good coverage moves to choose from, but with its stats unable to follow up on them, it can't succeed in battle. That being said, I suppose there are things you could do which save Wigglytuff a little, like running a Choice Scarf on it to try and outspeed, but the odds are that won't work. You'll fare better usually with Wigglytuff than the next 5 Pokemon if you're relying on luck, but you probably aren't very good if you're just relying on luck all the time. Starting off our top 5 here, we have the only Pokemon thus far with a major poison weakness, Schnatic. I can probably keep this entry short, because the problems with this thing are pretty self-explanatory when you look at it. It's mostly made to be a specially defensive wall, but its HP fails to follow that up well. Its abilities leave a lot to be desired, though Effect Spore is at least viable since physical attackers are probably often going to be trying to take advantage of this thing being out in the field. Its speed, like quite a few Pokemon we've spoken about today, is pretty awful at base 30, and that is never going to be a good thing. It runs a lot of utility moves like Spore and Strength Sap usually, and when you're slow and at the mercy of physical attackers, you won't really get to use these moves as much as you'd like. It does, however, have a great stab move in Moonblast to use, and Giga Drain can help recover health alongside Strength Sap. If you happen to make your way into a battle when the other side lacks any physical moves that Schnatic is weak to, you might be able to find a little bit of success with this thing. I wouldn't count on it though. Schnatic just sort of works as the start to our top 5. You've probably been wondering when we'd get to this one. It's Mr. Mime time here on the list. Mr. Mime might have gotten a pretty decent Galarian form with a shocking evolution to boot, but its regular Cantonian form is really not a great fairy type. That being said, it definitely isn't a top 10 worst psychic type, but the bar is just so high here for fairies, and it really missed it. It has good special stats in speed, but that is in fact it. Psychic and Dazzling Gleam are its two best moves, so at least it's got some strong stab behind it. It can't take any sort of physical damage from opposing Pokemon though. And its typing does leave it open to a lot more neutral damage, with big weaknesses, the strong physical priority moves like Bullet and Sucker Punch. However, super effective priority moves at the very least will be weakened by Filter, which is very nice. Don't be fooled, however, the disgusting physical stats and HP that Mr. Mime is cursed to deal with weighs heavier on it than the good speed and special stats. You could almost outspeed any Pokemon with the Choice Scarf in play, but you can never outspeed priority. Mr. Mime might be a little fun meme of a Pokemon, but it isn't a good fairy type at all. Alright, here at number 3, I'm going to right a bit of a wrong. I always try to own up to you guys when maybe I was wrong. And this is one of those times. I want to call back to the Steel type list, and talk about a Pokemon that probably should have been on it, Mawile. I think it probably should have been almost in the number 3 spot on that list. So move all the Pokemon back a slot and remove Forretress from that top 10 and it's more accurate. My bad about that. But thankfully, I can make up for it by talking about Mawile here on the fairy list. It wouldn't have made it, I don't think, if its Mega were still on the table. But being it's in Sword and Shield, we can't talk about that. When it's taken out of the equation, Mawile becomes an absolutely abhorrent Pokemon with garbage stats and a bucket of wasted potential. We'll start with all it does well, actually. It has two great abilities with Sheer Force and Intimidate. Its typing under normal circumstances brings tremendous resistance and so few weaknesses. And finally, boy does it have a move pool with a ton of coverage in it, especially with the moves offered in Sword and Shield. Now, the problem, like I said, is its stats. Its speed is awful at base 50, and defensively, while it has 85 base defense, its special defense and HP are both base 50, just like the speed. It really ruins all those good defensive boosts it would have from its resistances, since it'll just get destroyed by neutral moves among others. Its attack stat, while not the worst I guess, is a true letdown when you look at that move pool. Iron Head, Play Rough, the Elemental Fangs, and Knockoff, all of them don't hit as hard as they possibly could if Mawile had a better attack stat. All in all, Mawile is a big disappointment without its Mega, and all it might be good for in Sword and Shield is domination at the very bottom tiers of play or setting up some Stealth Rocks. It's a shame that it can't stand on its own without the Mega, but what are you gonna do? So the penultimate Pokemon today is actually our thumbnail Pokemon. That's right, Dede is right here on the precipice of being the worst fairy type, but lucked out in landing at number 2. Let's take a fine look at these stats, where we see 101 base speed and 85 special attack. Wow, that is absolutely super, great, and stellar. Except it's totally not. Look at the defenses, the HP, and the attack stat. I mean, this thing has got a cavalcade of nice physical moves it can't do anything with. I'm talking U-Turn, Play Rough, and Wild Charge among others, all of them being wasted by 58 base attack. God, it has Plus as an ability too, which is so useless. Pickup and Cheek Pouch are both not great either, Pickup being entirely useless. At the very least, there are only two weaknesses that Dede needs to deal with, and being a fairy type leaves it access to Dazzling Gleam, so it can hit some Pokemon for nice damage. I've gotta say, there isn't a whole lot more for me to say about this, as it's a clear-cut kinda not good. The number 1 spot is the same. Really, these two entries don't have a lot to say for them because you can just look at them and see that they're bad. So this Pokemon taking the top spot today is one we've talked about before previously on the rock type list, Carbink. What's there to say about this thing other than it's just a horrible attempt at being Diancie? It's horrible, and it's obvious to see why without me needing to explain too much. It's got base 150 defenses, which are both great, and then base 50 for every other stat. It's not able to hit for anything, it's got no speed, and with no HP, it's got only half of the bulk equation. It's only useful for trying the Toxic Stall and set up hazards. But at the end of the day, any steel type move from a decent attacker will absolutely annihilate Carbink and send it straight to the Shadow Realm. Its entire usefulness as a setup Pokemon with hazards, or even Trick Room setup, is put in jeopardy by any Pokemon with Taunt. And when you can be that easily countered, you're just not good. Carbink was lucky enough to not end up being the worst rock type, but today, it's without a doubt the worst fairy by far. That is going to do it for another top 10 weakest list, the penultimate video in this series. It was interesting analyzing the shortcomings of some Pokemon in the fairy typing, seeing as it is absolutely the best typing in the franchise. Though at the end of the day, we needed 10 Pokemon to talk about here, and I'm pretty confident we picked the right 10. Let me know what you guys think about this, and be on the lookout for the last list coming soon, where perhaps an even harder time than we did today looking over the dragon types. It's gonna be really interesting. Hey, welcome to my new outro. A big thank you to everyone for watching the video. I want to give a huge thanks to my phenomenal team, and for the amazing art done each week by Danny the Demon. I couldn't do all this without them. If y'all enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment too, it really helps us out. I have a brand new TikTok for MysticUmbreon, and I've got a goal to get 10k followers over there. If we can hit that goal, I'm going to pick a random video suggested to me by you guys and do it. So go over there and leave a follow. Also over on MysticSage, we've still got 2 videos going up every weekend. We've got content from My Hero, to Demon Slayer, to Dragon Ball, so come and check it out. And also check out MysticSage on TikTok. Finally, I've got an Amazon store where I sell tons of cool stuff. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm MysticUmbreon, and I'll see you next time with some more amazing Pokemon content.